Hapdeng kajing ki biang kajing dawa baka Sorkar India ka dayban menjurno ya ka resolution in the line permit lani ILP kat baka Sorkar jelapat ka keren ya ka Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act lani MRSSA u Dr. Mukul sangma MLA ka All India Trinamool Congress na songsak bat noyalam kaliang persyak haying darbar thawan ka jela Meghalaya ha ka laipoi terik unaitung arhajar apusan ula ong baka Sorkar MDA ha ka jingalam ke NPP kala Shillong Mail Halor ka ILP. Da ka bakado baha ka por ba ubat ya ka kamkum umintri lang ba ka jela ha ka por ba don ka jingaki dawa ILP bante lakam ya ka jingwan rung kirthep ki bar jela ulaong ba ka Sorkar jela ha ka tika por ka kwa palatang ba kam syam lanut ban kular pinbiet ya ki pat ba namar ka jingyo ijngai bagi syam jing ban pin ko ngo ya ka Sorkar India. Nalor kani ulakan turu ya ka Sorkar balada ka don jing temu ban nang thong baniat syu ya ka MRSSA kadai ban tip ya ki Kyndon jongka bat kam dai pat ban le kulmar yo ka bu jing
The issue of that facilitation center, this becomes a more of a bone of contention. See, how you do things is more important. It is because the government of the day did not know how to implement that. That's why the whole thing went to the court. Because they didn't know how to do. And they did not do with the utmost sense of responsibility. They did it half-heartedly for the sake of doing. I'm sorry. They have messed up everything. The court did not say that this provision of the law is illegal or unconstitutional. No. The court only says that in absence of proper guidelines, this cannot be done. Why was the proper guidelines not framed and then somehow the same not submitted before the Honorable Court? Why the government did not know how to fight back and protect this? It is only because of this, today, this question of whatever, to some extent, Now what was the intent? Intent of MRSSA was that, okay, when we were all looking at ILP is up to Government of India to give. Now, I do not represent Government of India. At that point of time when we were running the government, we did not represent Government of India. So, Government of India, we cannot take for granted. We cannot take the Parliament for granted. You see, we have to have understanding about how our democracy operates. You cannot even take the Assembly for granted, how the legislature will be there. Therefore, only when one particular issue is brought before the August House, how the honorable elected members in the August House, articulate, debate, discuss, and then somehow from the perspective of on people's behalf, how they really agree or disagree on various points which are factored in any proposed legislation. Therefore, you cannot take Assembly, the state legislature for granted in advance, nor you can take Parliament for granted. How the Parliament will decide, we cannot always, somehow predict, and it is not also inconsistent with our somehow given core values of our democracy. Therefore, having known that if Government of India takes time to agree for the demand of ILP, I cannot promise on behalf of the Government of India. That's why I did not promise. I never promised ILP. Did I promise ILP? But we agreed to unanimously adopt a resolution in the Assembly during the time when the current government, the present dispensation, promised us that they can do it. They promised us that they will be able to do it, so we agreed to vote. But I did not promise during my time because I know I cannot convince Government of India. At that point of time, I don't know whether now I can convince or not if I have to represent the government. But at that point of time, I did my due diligence, I did my homework, I knew that I can't convince the Government of India, so why will I fool my people? Mukul Sama cannot give false hope to the people of the state. And that is my brand. So therefore, I did not lie to the people. But the government of the day told everybody, saying that you just adopt this resolution, it is done. Why will we not vote for this? If they have been able to convince the Government of India. But if they have not been able to convince the Government of India, that means they have lied before the House. They have lied before the House. That means this amounts to misleading the House. Yes. we presumed and assumed that maybe okay, they must have really discussed, taken the union government on board. That's why they are giving that kind of, that with authority, that kind of your assurance. What has happened to that assurance? After the resolution was adopted, did not they come to the Central Library, met the civil society organizations who were waiting for the House to take a resolution? Didn't they come and tell them? I think they are all available still in your photographs, in your photo gallery. So that was a lie. So if people of the state has seen the biggest lie, how many lies you need to be, imposed upon? So that's why when I know that I cannot convince during my time to somehow invoke the provision of ILP in respect of Meghalaya, so we came up with this alternative. A bird in hand is worthier than the two birds in the bush. So what we could do, we have done. But I am telling you, if we very meticulously design the implementation of the provision and mandate of the MRSSA to a great extent, we will be able to ensure that people cannot just come and stay wherever they like, at least the purpose for which they are coming, the background, the credentials, the intent, everything will be compiled, based on which the neighborhood, the traditional institutions will agree or disagree to allow them to stay. That is to a great extent a powerful instrument for the traditional institutions. We are not depending on others. That's why the whole process is with the involvement of the traditional institutions, and this particular law has empowered the traditional institutions to be actively involved in this whole process of dealing with the challenges of the influx that we have witnessed in the preceding decades, and it will act as a deterrence, because there are many ways of creating that deterrence within the act while we implement the act. There is a need to have a better discussion, but the government of the day, what did they try? They tried to amend the act without doing the due diligence. Could they amend the act? Could they amend the act? They tried to amend the act, but they forgot that they have gone beyond the legislative jurisdiction of the state legislature. That's why it was sent back. So if as a state legislature, somebody as a legislator, we fail to understand our legislative jurisdiction, then we make a mockery about the whole empowerment that we are vested with. Lawmakers will know where your border, where your domain ends. So therefore, it's a question of, again, it gives me reason to question them whether they wanted to somehow derail the whole mandate of this beautiful act, which can to a great extent address the concerns of issues of unchecked, unregulated entry of people and residing of people in our neighborhoods. It helps in many ways, but then it is not enough. It is not enough. That is true. But to a great extent, this is a powerful legal instrument for the people of the state to deal with the concerns of unregulated entry of our people and unregulated stay of people from outside in our neighborhoods.
Habatin, pej bahagi kishab, kashab plus F.
Ka plus F?
Hakabam bangibam dunaki eki bataye kamet. Namar kata habathiru atau kau kamlu ka umpnyang kadut pej ya kashab plus F hakajingsom. Yaki nutrient kumki vitamin bat ka ayan la icon diat bat ka bathau bha kam kta ikadur jingki marbam kajing mat lani ka rukom shed yaki.
Balehi panai kita.
Kadon ka we kajing mentoy ba kongsan. Ka kot ka kia. Ka nutrition ba kambha kajing im ba kambha pendon kam daki marba madon ka sharp plus F menta kasni.
Lawan Ra Shapi, the office, Johor Commissionariat of Food Safety, Shillong, Meghalaya.